Hey everybody, it's Wayne D. Welcome to the website, WayneD.com. We're looking at second place finisher last week at the Safeway 2018. It's Ryan Moore. Here's a swing of his on the right over here. I'm going to go all the way back to 2010. This looks like Greensboro to me, I can't tell. But so I wanted to talk about a significant difference in his swing. And interestingly enough, I got some swings from in between, like 2014 and then 16 to show you too. But over this 8-year time frame, I'm going to go over a couple of different changes in his swing. You can see the setup looks pretty similar. I think the setups for anybody are going to change in a subtle fashion. You can see here maybe a tiny bit more knee flex on the right in the newer swing. If we go back to the 2010 swing, it's been a hallmark of Moore's swing pretty much since he came on the scene back in 2000, I guess it was 2004 when he won the NCAA and the Western and the USAM, one of the best amateur years of all time. So the interesting thing here, and he's always done this, and this is a movement where the shaft will get beyond vertical at P3. So what we're looking at there is we're looking at a left forearm that is resisting pronation. So it's more or less staying where the arm is rolling into the chest, and the left palm is trying to stay facing up, which of course is supination, and you're resisting pronation. And if you do that enough with both forearms, the club is not going to plane, it's going to go vertical. Now, this is something that has changed radically in his swing. So right now, you can see he's across the line still. He probably added a little more to that across vertical nature, and then he has always flattened this thing, and you can see it. So by supinating the right forearm and externally rotating the right shoulder, he's going to lay that club back. He's also now, with the left, he's going to pronate the left. Another thing that he's going to do here, and this almost looks like an independent movement, is he is going to twist his hands even a little extra here. So it's not kicking totally because of the arm and body movement. The hands are going to add a little bit of that layback to it. So by the time he gets to P6, you're going to see the shaft over here. So if we look at the total displacement of the shaft, let's draw that a little more this way. So we can see if that shaft is across the line by, say, 4 or 5 degrees here, or a little more. And again, I'm not saying that these are perfectly accurate numbers, they're just indicators. So we can come down here and look at the amount of shift in that swing. So you have that at 53, right? So that's 47 off of vertical, and if he was another 13, you're looking at about a 60-degree shift of the shaft. And then back then you can see that his shaft would stay flat of the plane for quite a long period of time, and then he would steepen it much later, which would mean that the release, with the club coming later from the inside would release out to the right a little bit more. So if we go over to the newer swing, you can see the setup is similar, hands very, very low. But if we go frame by frame and we look at the swing here compared to the older swing, the first thing we see is the club head is not staying as far outside of his hands, and the face does not appear to be quite as closed. It's always hard to tell with the little bit of a blur in these TV videos, these TV pictures. So we're going to watch the club travel up to P3, and you're going to see that the shaft is much more angled toward the ball, so closer to directly on plane, which would be over here at about 69. So his club in this case is really, just for a moment, it might be, as it stays outside his hand and breaks up, it's never really going to be vertical, more vertical than vertical over here like it is in his older swing. So you would imagine from a more on plane position during the swing with more forearm rotation, he's really not going to have to shift the club nearly as much. So we'll look at it from here where he's at 79. It's going to stay there, and as it gets to the top, you're going to see the right forearm supination. You're going to see the twist of the hands, and the external rotation of the shoulder is going to take the right arm inward. And then he's going to shift that shaft much, much earlier. So if we look at it from here, he's got it over here. Now, by getting the shaft that much shift, so we went from, say, we'll call it 80 to round it off, and we got it over here at 45, so you see a 35-degree shift. Had a way bigger shift in that other swing. But now he's going to spend the rest of the swing immediately steepening that club. So look at the difference here. This is something that you would see in like Hogan, where he would flatten the club very early and spend the rest of the downswing with the shaft progressively getting steeper, which is going to roll the shaft above the right forearm on the approach. Much less chance to get stuck behind him, I would say. And then really the huge difference in the release pattern. Check out the path of the hands going through the ball. Much different. Now, could it be that he's trying to draw one of these and fade one of these? Sure, but we're not really privy to the end of the shot here. I usually just take these swings and just sort of look at them generically to see what kind of movement is going on. So if we advance up to a swing that is from 2016, so very, very interestingly, you'll see this one is going to go, it's going to go back to the 2010 swing more, where it's more vertical and then more shifted, flattening for a longer period of time and probably coming in a little more from behind his hands and releasing a little more out to the right. And I had this swing from 2014, which is kind of an in-between swing where you see it's not quite as vertical here, flattening a little earlier and then working its way down So here the release is still a little bit out to the right. Remember, that's 2014. Now, if you ask me which one of these that I would prefer, it would be the new one, because the club consistently stays more on plane. It is flattening less, and it's flattening sooner, and he can spin the rest of the downswing, keeping the club above his right forearm and more on plane for a longer period of time, and he can release around in an arc. So he's not really restricted to a right to left shot pattern. So I'll show you an interesting view from more face on. If I can find it. So you can see it, extremely strong grip, and you'll note left arm is perfectly, it's sort of hyperextended here. Now he's going to take that wrist extension there, and he's going to actually keep it and roll it all the way to the top of the swing. So when we looked at that swing from down the line, you could see that it was quite cupped. Oh yeah, this is the picture that I wanted to show you. So this is an interesting view to show you what's involved with laying that shaft or flattening the shaft. So I want you to watch closely the hand. So first of all, notice with that super strong grip, notice the extreme amount of cup in that left wrist. So if you watch this movement here, one of the things that I want you to note as he does this is how the hips are going to rotate and pull back. So he's going to take that club and twist the head back that way by twisting the hands so that the right palm is going to face his ear more, and that's what's going to lay that club back. So at this point, the right elbow, the right upper arm are moving inward, adducting. He's maintaining the cup in his left wrist, and at the same time he's going to deepen his lower body. It's a very nice movement, an inward movement as he moves laterally. So if we're looking for amounts of lateral movement, you see he's got a huge amount of lateral. So the lateral movement is going to help him flatten that club. If you flatten that club like he does and spin with no lateral movement, there's a very good chance that the shaft will continue to flatten. So the club will tend to get stuck way behind. So that lateral movement, along with the tilt of the pelvis staying anterior, is going to help him run that left arm down his chest as the hands and the right arm really flatten that club. You can see how nice and vertical that left arm is on the approach. So very interesting swing. I always like to see how these guys sort of evolve their swings over time, but he's been a good player for quite a while.